Olds Community TV presents Hockey Talk with the Olds Grizzlys. Hosted by Hugh Bodmer. Hockey Talk with the Olds Grizzlys is sponsored by Hugh Bodmer, CIR Realty in Olds.
Guesting with us now is Mark Kilam, who's the special teams coordinator with the Grey Cup champion Calgary Stampeders. Mark, welcome to Olds.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
So hockey is a little different from football, but let's talk about the football season that the Stampeders had last year. I mean, the run you had, the Grey Cup, the exciting finish, all that. And special teams would be your responsibility.
That's right.
Let's talk about the whole season.
You know what? It was an amazing year. It was a special year from start to finish. And the thing that made it the most special was the group of players that we had. I mean, we went wire to wire as one of the best teams in the league, but it was really the players coming to work each and every week. You know, those guys had to put up with a lot of talk that they couldn't finish and they couldn't do this and that. And it really made my job easy because, you know, I just presented the plan and those guys put in the work and we got the result we wanted in November.
So how do you go about picking a special teams player? How does that work?
Well, it first of all has to matter to them. You know, special teams doesn't get a lot of glory like offense or defense, but everyone wants to say it's a third of the game, but it's really a huge part of the game in the CFL. I mean, we deal in massive yardage exchanges, and if you don't do your job, it's an explosion the other way. So, you know, we look for guys that it matters to them, and, obviously great athleticism and all those other things go into play, but you know, you see a lot of Canadian kids, a lot of good, hardworking Canadian kids on the special teams, and I think that's how I can relate to them.
Is like the punt returning, kickoff return, is that all part of your responsibility as well?
Yes, so kickoff return, punt return, field goal defend, and then all like the special, unique situations that make the Canadian game so good, like kick out at the end of the game, single point stuff, all that stuff. So, yeah. So
when you've got punters, for example, that have to aim the ball, that's got to be a special talent.
It is, and you know what? We're blessed that we have one of the best in Rob Maver, and you know he does a great job with it. But because the field's so big, you know, 65 yards wide, we ask that punter to put it in a specific spot, and it just helps us cover, and that's a big part of what we do. So,
in the return game, I guess it isn't always blinding speed, but it helps.
Yeah, blinding speed, ability to, we call it get out of a phone booth. I mean, yes, you have to give 5 yards, but the good teams will, you know, corral on you, and as long as we can fit up on those blocks and that returner can make one man miss, then we usually got a good shot.
Well, you finished the regular season, obviously one of the best teams in Canada. Tell me a little bit about the playoffs and the actual Grey Cup game itself.
Well, we had the bye, and then we played Edmonton at home, and you know what? Our guy, we had a great week of practice on the bye. It was cold that week, and we played music to try to change up the atmosphere, and you know, guys came out in the Edmonton game, and we were just on fire. And then going to the Grey Cup, you know, we played a really good Hamilton football team. I think they're a very good football team, and they've got very good personnel. They're very well coached, and you know, it was a tight one, but it's the CFL, and we came out on top, and so we'll take the ring.
Special teams, as it turned out, were a huge factor in that.
They were a huge factor. They were. I mean, Brandon Banks is a good player. You know, it came down to that play. You know, if that play's in the first quarter, it's probably not that big of a deal, but because it was such a critical play at a critical time, and it was a penalty, so we'll take it, and that's how the game ended. So
could have gone the other way too, and the result would have been much different, obviously.
Yep.
But as you say, it was called by the ref, and
that's right.
There was no disputing it from what I could tell. I mean, I'm sure the other side was unhappy, but so be it.
That's right. I mean, the officials had called that penalty that way the whole year. You know, so it wasn't like it was out of the blue. They just called the block in the back, even though everyone wants to say he wasn't really at the point of attack, but that's how they've called that penalty all year. If you push somebody in the back and he falls, it's going to be a penalty. So
unlike in the NFL in the playoffs.
Yeah, hey, they got their hands full over there with a bunch of other stuff too. So yeah.
Hey, special teams is one part of the game, but injuries are huge. Talk a little bit about, if you can, about concussions that occur at the professional level. You know what?
The education on concussions, I think, is the biggest thing that's come a lot. The biggest distance from even when I played, 10 years ago. It's being able to identify it earlier. The new progressions in equipment and all that stuff that they're trying to push forward. And our therapy staff does a great job of identifying when someone may have a concussion. They pull them out, and they go through the whole protocol. And a guy just can't come back in if he says he feels good. They have to fill out all the steps and all that stuff. So they're doing a good job. I mean, it happens at every level, and now they're just doing a better job of identifying it.
Dan Federkill, the NFL career was cut short by a major concussion.
Yeah, and you know what? He was a guy that took a few years away from the game, felt a lot better, and came back. And he hasn't had one since he's been back. So it's good. They're a weird thing, It's sometimes it's the most minor hit, that causes one, and you can go face to face and have a huge collision and be okay. So it's a weird deal, and they're doing a good job of trying to identify it and just trying to educate people better on it now.
Tell me about that last minute and then of the game, and then the experience and the feeling in the dressing room.
Well, you know what? It was first of all, honestly, it took me about 20 minutes to get over that play. I knew it was a penalty, but at the same time, the enormity of the situation. Anytime your unit, if I could be the defensive coordinator, we gave up a huge play, you'd feel the same way. It takes you a little bit, and punt returns are such a massive play, and that was a massive play in the game at a critical time. But it took me a while to okay, we won the game, and I was fortunate. My best friends were on the field with me. My mom was on the field. They're like, "Mark, it's okay, we won the game." And after that, I felt good. But it was one of those things where it was a huge play at a critical time, and it was like, whoa, that just happened, even though it was a penalty. But it just you're living in the moment so much, and you have so much invested that it just took a little bit out of me. But I'm over it now.
I know it's the last couple of weeks there's been some major, I would consider big signings. You've lost a couple of players to the NFL, but it looks like you're going to have pretty much a returning team so far.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is we're going to have our core back, our core group of guys. There's always going to be change. A couple good players, we traded one and we lost a couple to the NFL, but that's every year that happens. And, the great thing about our football team is we have great talent, in the depth in our talent, and those guys will step up, and we'll find a couple more fringe guys for this next year, and we'll make a run, and guys are excited about it. So
you must have a tremendous scouting staff from Bird Dogs, and you seem to have the funnel full all the time.
Yeah, John Murphy, Brendan Mahoney, those guys do a great job, and our staff is heavily involved, our coaching staff is heavily involved in the Canadian draft and all that stuff, and we have a bunch of free agent workouts in the U.S. that we go to every year, and it's really a group effort, but it's spearheaded by John Murphy and Brendan Mahoney, and those guys definitely deserve their due.
Do you do any of those free agent camps yourself?
Yep. Yeah, I go to them. We kind of pick and choose. I try to do as few as possible, to be honest with you. I try to maximize the family time, just like we got the whole family out here. But I'll go to one in Florida, and I'll go to one other one that they want me to do. I was just at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama this week, so just try to pick my spots.
So what's in the future for Mark Kilam?
Well, I don't know. Just take it day by day, brother. I take it day by day. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm really enjoying myself right now, and if something opens up, I'll go all into that.
Well, thanks very much for guesting with us, and come back anytime. And when you come back next time, bring the Grey Cup.
Yeah, I will. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Watch Olds Community TV on Channel 148 on the ONET IPTV network, or catch us on the web at www.octv.ca.